The United States owes over $38 trillion. It is a figure politicians frequently cite on debate stages and digital clocks, presenting it as a national emergency that threatens to bankrupt the future. But this isn't a uniquely American phenomenon. The global debt total has climbed to over $315 trillion, a sum nearly 3 times larger than the entire global economy. This creates a mathematical paradox. If every nation on Earth, from the United States to export giants like China and Germany, is carrying massive liabilities, who is actually collecting the money? Contrary to the popular belief that foreign powers own the United States, the data shows that China holds roughly 2.
The question changes from how we pay it back to why we keep borrowing it. There is a simple reason for this. The U.S. government has no intention of ever paying off the principal of its national debt. In the modern financial system, government bonds serve as the world's most trusted collateral. Every dollar in circulation represents a unit of debt somewhere else. If Washington paid off every bond, that collateral would vanish, causing the global money supply to shrink rapidly and triggering a catastrophic deflationary collapse. This massive figure functions as the invisible scaffolding of global commerce. It is less a bill to be settled and more a foundation that keeps the system standing. This design dates back to 1694. England was exhausted by war with France and had run out of physical gold to pay its soldiers. The king turned to private merchants for help. In exchange for financing the crown today, they were promised a permanent stream of interest payments funded by the future taxes of English citizens. The Bank of England was established to manage this arrangement. It granted the state a new power, the ability to spend money it hadn't yet collected. This invention transformed debt from a mark of failure into a measure of credibility. The power to issue bonds became the power to build empires. Today, this mechanism has evolved into a global loop. The U.S. Treasury issues bonds, commercial banks buy them as safe assets, and the Federal Reserve often buys them back to manage the economy. When the central bank buys these bonds, it creates new digital dollars in exchange. In our modern system, there is no such thing as debt-free money. Every bill is essentially an engraved IOU. This cycle is repeated by every major economy, a planetary game of hot potato, where every promise is secured by another promise. The entire financial system has become a closed loop of trust, functioning only as long as everyone believes the promises will be kept. For an individual, debt is a liability. But for global markets, government debt is a skyscraper, the safest asset in existence. Backed by government taxing power, treasury bonds are the ultimate security. Banks and pension funds stockpile them as bedrock, not waiting for repayment. Governments treat debt like a rolling subscription, issuing new bonds to pay off old ones, ensuring the principal is never cleared. The global economy depends on this debt remaining unpaid. If it ever disappeared, the world would lose the very instrument that makes modern banking possible. This loop only works as long as investors remain confident that the government can at least pay the interest. When that confidence fades, the system breaks. When a nation can no longer borrow to pay for its old debts, its currency can collapse overnight.
In places like Sri Lanka, this meant fuel shortages and the total halt of essential imports. To prevent the damage from spreading, international institutions like the IMF step in with bailouts. These rescues, however, require austerity, forcing tax hikes and spending cuts on citizens to ensure the bondholders are still paid. In these moments of crisis, the anonymous creditors become visible. They hold the power to restructure entire economies to protect the value of their debt. Because the principal is never settled, the true product of this system is the interest. It acts as a perpetual flow of capital from taxpayers to lenders. Every year, a portion of the taxes paid by workers is directed toward servicing the interest on the national debt. That capital flows directly into the accounts of the wealthy institutions, hedge funds, and private investors who hold the bonds. This creates a dynamic where global inequality and national indebtedness rise together. The system rewards those who own the debt and extracts from those who pay it. From households to nations, the line between debtor and creditor has blurred. We are all participants in a machine built on rolling promises. When politicians talk about balancing the budget, they are selling a narrative for a system that isn't designed to be balanced. The plan was never to pay the money back. The plan is to keep the world believing we will.